National Crime Agency has issued a warning to organised gangs, which it says are behind a recent spike in illegal attempts to cross the English Channel. On Friday, 8 Iranians were brought ashore after their dinghy was spotted off the coast of Kent. It brings the total number of suspected migrants to have reached the UK this month to 101. Our reporter Keith Doyle has more.
These men were found in a dinghy by a Border Force patrol boat in the Channel yesterday. The 8 men, who say they are Iranian, were taken into custody and interviewed by immigration officers. The day before, 14 people were found in 2 dinghies in the Channel. French authorities found another 11 suspected migrants on the same day. There's been a huge rise in the number of people trying to cross the Channel in small boats. In the past month, 101 suspected migrants have been found, including 9 people found on rocks at Folkestone. 3 boats with 24 suspected migrants, including a toddler, were picked up off Dover and Ramsgate. And 7 men were rescued from a dinghy after making a distress call.
We need to see the Home Office and the French authorities work together to put a stop to this trafficking network. Nearly 100 refugees have been coming across the Channel in recent weeks. It's only a matter of time before there's a tragedy, and that's why the Home Office in particular needs to get a grip and have a plan.
The National Crime Agency says organised crime groups are using these small craft to traffic people, but they're working with the French authorities to stop them. This week, 2 men were jailed for 8 years for smuggling people across the Channel. This is one of the inflatable boats they used. Most people smuggling takes place at ports, but increased security there and the calm weather may be making more people risk their lives by trying to cross the Channel in small, totally unsuitable craft. Keith Doyle, BBC News.
Well, with me now is Tony Smith, former head of the UK Border Force. Tony, thanks very much for being with us on BBC News this morning. The numbers sound significant, but it's not just the numbers, it's the way they're coming across, which is new, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's unprecedented to see this number of small vessels arriving off the Kent coast. The standard route for illegal entrants getting into the UK is concealed in vehicles. But we have done a lot of work in Calais and with the French feeder ports to stop the smugglers getting in through that route, so they are now resorting to increasingly dangerous methods.
Ingrid Parrot of the French Maritime Police has been quoted as saying that criminal and mafia networks have been organising the trafficking. So this is different, presumably, from the gangs who operate out of North Africa, for example, and other parts of the region. These are people operating inside Europe. Why are they able to do it with apparent impunity?
Well, the National Crime Agency will be working cross-border and with Europol and the international agencies, but certainly, yes, there is a concern that there is a gang operating on mainland Europe because there's still a huge push towards the UK, and because we've tightened up our border in other areas, then clearly they're going to try something different. But the new nature of this is essentially the maritime threat, which we've always thought we had a maritime threat. We're not entirely sure, but it's always been high risk for us, but it's now actually manifesting itself in these arrivals, and it's highly dangerous.
You say highly dangerous because basically these are dinghies trying to cross the Channel, operated presumably by people who don't have any experience of sailing across these waters.
Well, we saw what happened, didn't we, in 2015 in the migrant crisis in the Med with some awful scenes of drownings and so on. And these are very busy waterways. And I mean, the Coast Guard will tell you, the experts will tell you that, you know, this is busy shipping lanes, very rough weather, as you say, potentially hypothermia, drowning. These vessels are not equipped for cross-channel activity. And although we've got our patrols out, it was essentially a search and rescue operation. You know, there is a real danger here that somebody's going to perish.
If this continues, then the risk is high that somebody dies or suffers serious injury as a result of this. But sort of the other aspect of this that will worry people is the relative ease with which people seem to be able to get across. Have we got enough protection on that coast?
Not really, because, you know, the Border Force covers the ports of entry as well as the areas in between the ports of entry. Now, the resourcing has gone up. It's going up because of Brexit, but it's only getting up to about 2013 levels, which is where I left it when I retired. So, you know, we do need to look at this threat, and there have been recommendations that we have a border security force which coordinates about 15 different agencies with an interest in the coastline. We haven't really got a separate, discrete command structure to deal with that. So I would like to see some further work on that. Yeah.
So in terms of actually being able to kind of pull in other resources without having to kind of constantly negotiate between agencies. Somebody needs to, in effect, really have the final say. Is that what you would like to see?
Yeah, I mean, there is a coordination and there is a governance structure around this, and it's intelligence-led. So, I mean, it's not all doom and gloom, but I think that we are seeing now a completely new, well, not a new threat, but certainly a bigger threat than we've ever seen before in this area, which has always been high risk, and I do think we're going to have to respond at some point accordingly.
Tony Smith, former head of UK Border Force, thanks very much. Right.